Good afternoon, Chair Williamson, Vice Chairs McLean and Rayfield, and members of the committee. For the record, I'm Governor Kate Brown. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to testify in support of House Bill 3464. And thank you, Madam Attorney General, for working with me to make Oregon a more welcoming and inclusive state for everyone. Oregon affirmed these values some 30 years ago in state law. Under the leadership of then State Representative Rocky Berea, both parties in the House and the Senate worked together and nearly unanimously passed Senate Bill 29. The bill made it illegal for Oregon law enforcement agencies from treating Oregonians as criminals on the basis of their immigration status. Since 1987, when the Oregon legislature adopted our sanctuary state statute, the state of Oregon generally has not engaged in federal immigration enforcement, and I think that's really good policy. The U.S. Constitution gives the federal government the power to control immigration, and the federal government cannot, under the U.S. Constitution, force state law enforcement officers to implement the policies of this administration. Our state and local law enforcement agencies are already overextended, doing too much with too little, and they are absolutely dedicated to keeping our communities safe. At a time when resources are scarce, we should not be spending state resources doing the federal government's bidding. In February, I extended the protections of Oregon's sanctuary statute by executive order. Under the law enforcement agencies were precluded from treating Oregonians as criminals solely on the basis of immigration status. My executive order extended that policies to all state agencies and our employees. I also established this policy for state agencies that Oregon is an inclusive jurisdiction that embraces, celebrates, and welcomes its immigrant and refugee residents and recognizes their contributions to the collective prosperity of all Oregonians. Finally, included in that order is a prohibition on the state from participating in the creation of a registry to identify people based on religion. We have heard threats of a Muslim registry at the federal level. I honestly don't know how sincere these threats are, but I want to be absolutely clear. We will not participate. Even rhetoric espousing such discrimination and hatred is absolutely concerning to me, as it is for many Oregonians. Just 2 weeks ago, the Portland community and our entire state was shocked and incredibly saddened to learn of the act of bitter intolerance on a MAX train and tragic stabbing of 3 courageous strangers. Hate and discrimination have no place in our Oregon. We must commit to keeping our communities welcoming and our hearts open to all who call our state home. House Bill 3464 is a further step toward upholding the civil rights of all Oregonians and keeping our state out of federal immigration enforcement. The bill was narrowly crafted to fulfill our obligations under federal law while minimizing our role in immigration enforcement. The bill does this in several ways. First, it directs all state and local jurisdictions to not gather information about Oregonian citizenship or immigration status when they are not required to by state or federal law. When agencies do have to gather citizen or immigration information, the bill authorizes agencies to keep that information confidential where disclosure isn't required by law. We don't want private information about people that we do not need. Second, the bill directs public bodies not to disclose private information like addresses or workplaces for the purpose of enforcing federal immigration laws. For example, if an undocumented immigrant witnesses a crime, she can disclose her personal contact information to the police without fear of the officer passing her personal information onto an ICE agent. Third, the bill directs the Attorney General to develop model policies that state agencies and local governments can adopt. State and local agencies are clamoring for resources on this subject. This bill directs the Attorney General to satisfy that need. I appreciate the Attorney General for already working with the Department of Education, along with the Latino Network, to make sure families with school-age children have the forms and access to the information they need to keep their families safe. I am deeply concerned and very alarmed by recent anti-immigrant measures undertaken by the federal government. History teaches us not to follow the federal government into public policy that betrays Oregon values. Just upstairs in the gallery, an exhibition documents our state's regrettable participation in the federal government's incarceration of Japanese Americans, including Minoru Yasui, who took his fight for justice to the U.S. Supreme Court and went on to be Oregon's only recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I highly commend the exhibition to all of you. Although the current state of affairs is very different from the Japanese internment, we should heed the lesson of that disgraceful episode. Oregon should stay true to our values. I respectfully suggest that House Bill 3464 is a step toward realizing Oregon's aspiration as a welcoming and inclusive place to all who call our state home. Thank you.
Thank you.